In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at the tropics happening across the Pacific and the Atlantic. The Pacific is getting extremely active and even poses some threats to Hawaii, where we just had that incredibly scary situation with the tsunami warnings and the huge earthquake. I think it was the biggest one since the one in Japan in 2011. So that was a massive situation. I was up very late tracking all of that information. I hope everybody's safe out there, but there is some tropical concerns for Hawaii as well. So just more trouble on the way, unfortunately, potentially. We're going to be taking a look at that as well as the Atlantic, where we do have some potential for some tropical systems, although not a whole lot of potential. It is there, but it's not overwhelmingly crazy like the Eastern Pacific is. We're also going to be taking a look at that colder air that is moving in for the first week of August, which is really just in a couple of days from now, and some long-range model guidance that suggests that this cooler air might be the trend for August overall, and we might see it through the midway point of the month, but not only that, maybe even into the later portion of August. We're going to be taking a look at all these things. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tropics first things first, and we'll start out with the Pacific, and you can see we have a lot going on. I added these on screen where we can see the actual systems and where they're at. So we do have Tropical Storm Iana. We also have the remnants of Kelly. We do have this area here of 40% chance of development across the next 2 days and the next 7 days. And as we just take a look a little bit further eastward, we have two areas here. One that is more of a long-range threat. We have the 2-day outlook, 0% chance, but over the next 7 days, a 60% chance of development. So over time, there's more chance than not that that one does develop. We also see here this one that I cannot click because the orange one is over top of it, but I went to the National Hurricane Center's website, and we do have a 90% chance of development over the next 7 days and an 80% chance over the next 2. So that is expected to develop here very, very shortly. And we're going to play the model guidance real quickly. I promise for those of you, most of you in the lower 48 that, aren't too concerned about this stuff, we are going to dive into the Atlantic in just a minute. But I did want to talk about this. We see the first one, that's going to be the one associated with the red area, goes ahead and develops as is expected and heads pretty much directly northward. It does start to swing westward, but it looks to dissipate for the most part, maybe bringing some rainfall towards Hawaii there, as you can see towards the end there. I want to rewind because we do see this orange one develop on this model run as well just after it. And this is by the 2nd here at 5 p.m. It's starting to get its act together there. And eventually, by the time we're looking at the 4th, this is 8 p.m. on the 4th, it's even more so getting its act together. And it really stays a pretty intense storm all the way through, heading directly for Hawaii, which is exactly the way that the one before it did as well for the most part. Both of them show signs of weakening on this model run before striking Hawaii, and also this is by the 12th, so this is a good 13 days out, so take it with a grain of salt for sure. But the steering patterns are typically pretty easy to predict, and the fact that both of these systems go towards Hawaii tells me that the steering is just perfect for aiming these storms right that way. So we're going to be tracking that over the coming days. Like I said, the red chance has a really good shot of developing over the next 2 days. So likely we're going to have one of these to look at where we can actually see the expected track of the system, which is going to be a little helpful. So we're going to be waiting for that. Let's take a look at the Atlantic real quickly. This is by the 12th. I'm going to have to rewind us here. Now, as we take a look at things, I want to just watch it play out. And interestingly, we do have this pocket of storms across our main development region, which is short, well, main development region. In short, we call that MDR. And really, that's the areas in between the Caribbean and Africa there. And we do see this kind of cluster of storms. And that's the area we are watching. And it looks to meander its way towards the Caribbean. We've been talking about this for a couple of days. Let's just keep this going, though. We can see it weaken significantly as it's approaching that area. And for the most part, doesn't really develop. It brings some thunderstorms perhaps to Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. This is by the 4th, about the morning time of the 4th. And we do have some storms offshore of the Gulf here, the Gulf Coast and the Southeast Coast. We could see something spin up in there. But again, not even close to being as active as the Pacific is at this point. We really don't see much of anything Super concerning. I would say the most concerning thing is here on the 8th, 8 p.m. It's this system that was way down here in the MDR, starts to really get going to the north of Cuba and just to the west there of Florida. So somewhere in here, it's where we see that one start to get going. And as you can see, that does kind of hang out in the Gulf. It moves along, impacting Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas perhaps. But this is pretty far out again, so we're going to take it with a grain of salt and just continue to monitor it. On the 15th here at the very end of the model run, again, take it with a grain of salt, it's very far out, but we do see storms offshore once again, so I think that we're going to see opportunities here during the first half of August, but we're not seeing anything that's like raising red flags and super alarming yet, but we do know that it is the hurricane season. There will be things like that happening, and a lot of times I've noticed throughout the years that I've been doing this that the models don't pick up on these things in the long range very well, and unless they're moving across the entire Atlantic, they do tend to kind of come out of nowhere sometimes. So we're going to continue to monitor this daily, and we might see something pop up between now and the 15th suddenly. So we're going to be, again, keeping track of this with you guys, keeping you up to date, and kind of just navigating it, all of us together. Let's go ahead and take a look at the European model over on WeatherBell. And as we take a look at this, we are going to see, again, some concerns for the tropics, but mostly we're going to be looking here at the overall storminess. We do see a lot of thunderstorms for tomorrow across some of like the very low Midwest, some of the plains, deep south, southeast, Ohio Valley, mid-Atlantic, northeast, kind of a big area there in the east dealing with these thunderstorms. And this is interesting, but finally this is that squeeze that we've been talking about for a week or more that's associated with that cooler air moving down. And I'll say it one more time, but we get this really strong push of Arctic air moving in from Canada. This is Arctic air. It is coming from the Arctic Circle, and it's blasting down into the east. So that is why I refer to it as an Arctic blast, because we have the Arctic and we have the blast. So we do get this really intense push of warm and humid air, though, that is putting up a fight, which is standard. That is the default for summertime. Cooler air is the unusual part, and they're kind of hashing it out. And where they meet head to head with equal force or about equal force, it forces that air to then move up. It has nowhere else to go, and we get this effect that causes the rising of those clouds, those thunderstorms, and it really gets things going. And we do see that here for Thursday on the 31st. Likely some severe weather happening over the next couple of days with that. Again, nothing crazy, at least not widespread wise, but still dangerous weather happening locally. So be sure to keep your eyes peeled. We do see Friday on the 1st of August, just a couple days from now. I can't believe July is basically come and gone, guys. But we see across the deep south and southeast, those thunderstorms are now further south, but still very present. We have a large ridge in the west and large trough in the east by this point, which we've been calling for again, a week plus. By Saturday the 2nd, they're again laid across the deep south, and it almost trails. So it's offshore here, trails across the deep south, and it almost just curves right up the Rockies there. You can almost connect all of these storms. That's a crazy look here. And again, probably not in this specific scenario, but when we do get these cold fronts flattened out over these open water areas, it is really when you want to watch the tropics close to home here. Let's keep going towards Sunday on the 3rd, and really not a lot's moving anymore. We see things a lot more stagnant. Again, thunderstorms across the Rockies, both Canadian and American Rockies. We do see the deep south and southeast there dealing with a lot of thunderstorm activity. As we keep going towards Monday on the 4th, the deep south continues to see that activity, much less so in the Rockies, but the deep south and southeast still seeing it. Tuesday on the 5th, still the southeast area, not a lot of other areas dealing with too much storminess. The 6th, a little bit in the upper Midwest and northern plains, a little bit in the northeast, but again, the southeast is the most active area here. Over the course of the next week to 2 weeks, we're going to be watching the Gulf. There's just a lot of activity in there. Nothing that, again, is raising like serious red flags, but when day after day after day, you're seeing these storms over those very warm waters, it just presents an inherent risk of tropical formation. Also off the southeast, plenty of activity. So again, I'm not going to be surprised to at least see some risks of tropical activity for the first half of August, which is typical. We do expect an average hurricane season. That's what we've been calling for this year, near average hurricane season, not too far above or not too far below. But it is pretty standard to see activity in early August. It's just we're not seeing it on the model guidance. But again, they do tend to surprise us. So I'm really going to be shocked if we don't see any chances really through the midway point of the month, especially since on Friday the 8th, we still have signs of potential for activity. As we keep going towards Saturday here on the 9th, more offshore activity. We also see these northern states seeing some showers and thunderstorms around. Again, Saturday the 9th there. Let's keep this going towards Sunday on the 10th. We see a lot of the eastern seaboard, a lot of the upper Midwest and northern plains seeing some isolated and scattered activity. Also Monday the 11th, it's mostly the Midwest here in Great Lakes, as well as the deep southeast. Tuesday on the 12th, we see a lot of these eastern states dealing with thunderstorms. Wednesday the 13th here, same thing. And we basically end the model run here on Thursday the 14th. It's very far out, so take it with a grain of salt, but we do have a pretty major low right here just to the north of Minnesota and North Dakota. A little bit of a trailing cold front might mean more severe weather potentially happening in these areas, and also the East Coast looks to have some scattered about thunderstorms once again. Looking at the total precipitation, it's no surprise that the most active area is this southeast region where we're seeing a lot of rainfall. Still, I would say there's an above average blob here across the plains and Midwest. Let's take a look at those anomalies. And we are picking up steam for sure in the deep southeast. A lot of above average rainfall there. Some of these areas even twice your average. And then these areas are starting to finally slow down. We've been talking for about a month now about above average precipitation across the northern plains and upper Midwest, but we're finally seeing, I would say, half and half. About 50% of these areas are below, 50% of them are above average. Still a lot of activity up there, but it is slowing down finally a little bit, it looks like. The last 3 days of temperatures have looked pretty much like this, and this is the last time we will likely see a map like this for a little bit. But it's really, really warm here in the east and a lot of the central states. More neutral out west, so we can see that warming is starting to take place out there. We call this the positive P&A, or really the beginning of one, where we're seeing a warming trend out west. And that's what's going to send this right here, this Arctic air mass, just right into the eastern and central states. Let's watch this play out on the model run here. We can see the warming out west and this cooler air just rapidly taking over in the central and eastern states. Those darker blues and greens are 10 to 15 degrees below normal, which is significant for the summertime. I can't remember if I've ever really seen a cold signal like this for August, or really a summer month for that matter. You'd probably have to go back to the early 2010s for something like that. So pretty significant, pretty rare. This model is the European ensemble model, and this does show it sticking around until the 6th, 7th, especially for the eastern seaboard, as you can see, even lasting maybe towards the 10th here. Still, the west is the warmest half, but at the end of the model run, we kind of just get averaged out here. As we take a look at the GEFS, which is the GFS ensemble model, extended, so this gets us further out, and this is the control version, so we don't get that averaged out effect, but you do lose some accuracy with this, so please keep that in mind. These are in 7-day increments, and this is a small sliver of a signal. I don't want to act like this is gospel. This is, when you start using the extended ensemble models, sure, that's fine. But when you use the control version of it, you are getting into some stuff that can get hairy. So we're going to look at this for out of curiosity and maybe as a small inkling. But I will tell you this, I have seen some model guidance completely disagree with this. Now, with all that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at things. We obviously see the cool down move in. We warm up for a brief moment, but look at this. This is the 15th through the 22nd. We start to see some cooler air move back into the east. And this is for the 26th of August all the way through September 2nd, and we still have a colder signal in the east. Again, seriously take this one with a grain of salt. This is pretty sketchy. I'm not, believing this necessarily. I'm keeping this in the back of my head, but I'm not really putting any eggs in this basket. So I recommend you do the same, but we're going to look back on this. We're going to see if this ends up being right. That would be very interesting, but it is a little bit of a long shot, especially looking at like specific details. But time will tell, of course. I can't wait to navigate August with you guys and get into the fall and then the winter. And I just love this time of year when everything's about to kind of change. We're going to go through the summer, the fall, the winter. I love it, guys. With all that being said, be sure to subscribe so we can take that journey together. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.